Governor George Santos was recently sworn into office to represent the 3rd Congressional District of New York, which includes part of northern Nassau County on Long Island and the northeastern part of Queens, New York, and this made him the first newly elected member of Republican Congress who ran as an openly gay man. Although during his campaign he did state that he didn't believe voters would be focusing on his sexual orientation when they hit the booth. You're right, George Santos, New Yorkers only voted for you based on your education, professional experience, cultural background, and your life views, which is why it's weird that you're still getting the job after lying about every single one of those credentials. See, this is why it's hard to trust a gay Republican, George. If you weren't pandering to conservatives for financial and political gains, you could have used that creative energy like every liberal gay person, writing either a sad play or happy musical about your life. You'd still get rich and you wouldn't even have to wear a suit as often. For weeks now, more and more news has come out that makes George Santos seem almost exactly like the con artist played by Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can, except without the pretty face. That is, until a couple days ago when new photos and a video surfaced that allegedly show Santos at age 20 performing as a drag queen, which would be no big deal if it weren't in direct conflict with the anti-LGBTQ plus laws and anti-drag queen laws from the Republican Party that Santos has vocally supported in the party's attempt to distract voters from any of the real issues that affect American life. And while this seems to be the only lie from George's past that he feels the need to deny, he's hardly the only anti-drag queen Republican who's recently been exposed, having either performed in drag or bringing their children to the same drag shows that they claim are being used by gay people to groom children. Yeah, grooming them to be less boring in college. So did these Republicans even believe the hateful rhetoric that they spew in order to win votes with bigoted Americans? Or are they all just like George Santos, who turned his back on the LGBTQ plus community and gave up his old life as a small-time queen, all to appease the conservatives and win a new life as the governor of a small part of Queens? Get ready for more internalized homophobia as we sashay away with a fake resume and plenty of state government related wordplay in this secret conservative drag queen installment of Clip Breakdown. Hello television viewers, my name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me once again on my channel for another installment of Clip Breakdown. This is the playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other such content here on the web, and we break it apart like a gerrymandered map to win the votes we need for #1 web video. Okay, we'll go with that. I said it. But before we get started on this political expose consisting of information that you can also find yourself, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you want to see even more conservative cringe content like this, but most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right down there. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones every week, so turn on notifications and you'll always be the first to know when I'm hitting the ballot box to steal your Republican votes, because I'm a liberal, snowflake, gay ass bitch. That's what I write on my political party registration, and they're always like, please stop. No, but for real, I feel passionate about this topic because not only do I hate the way that LGBTQIA+ people in this country are treated and the systemic trauma that is caused to so many queer people of all ages because of the cis-het society that oppresses us in ways that they can't even understand because of their privilege. But when I found out that some of these Republicans are basically faking their stance on some of these social issues, I got real mad because there's literally no excuse for them to vote against the interest of a community that they're either a part of or have historically supported other than richness, money. The same reason the white patriarchy is still in power today, because big government is funded by corporations and lobbyists who want their interests protected, so they fund these campaigns. means. If you want to be in political power, you have to appease these like nameless, faceless organizations that somehow get just as many rights as a human being in this country. Fun. Actually more rights, because queer people, we're fighting for our rights all the time. And this year, there has been a spike in anti-gay protests, all picking up after the Roe versus Wade decision was overturned by the Supreme Court. And we all knew at that time, they're gonna come for gay marriage next. And not only that, they're also gonna come for talking about queer history or acknowledging the existence of homosexuality in schools, weaponizing politics against trans children, and for some reason, demonizing drag queens for reading stories to those kids in an age-old attempt to equate gayness with child abuse. And there's no correlation. In fact, it's straight cis men who are most frequently convicted of that crime. But I guess we'll talk about that as we go. The point is, George Santos was elected the governor of his district, and this was a seat that was considered highly competitive. They could have flipped Congress one way or the other, red or blue, depending on who won this seat. It gives them the majority. In addition, this was the first time that two openly gay candidates were competing against each other in Congress. Santos against New York Democrat Robert Zimmerman. Now, there have been openly gay members of Congress before, but only having come out or being outed, Gunderson having been the one who was outed against his will, which not a good look. People of the country, don't do it. I'll tell my gay secrets when I'm ready to write them down in a memoir/dream manifestation workbook that I'm thinking of right now. What's a good title? Let me know in the comments. Shortly after winning the election, we started hearing lie after lie after lie that George Santos ran his campaign based on. And it's hard to ignore the hypocrisy of a gay politician working for a party that, especially now, is against the equal rights and fair treatment of LGBTQIA+ people. There are 340 anti-LGBTQ+ bills that Republican legislators have introduced throughout 2022. A lot of these bills specifically target transgender people. They could limit a trans person's ability to play sports, receive gender-affirming healthcare, and use bathrooms that correspond with their gender identity. I can't even imagine how difficult this must be for trans youth to be suffering through these issues, being pushed and pulled for political reasons, while this is their life. This is the way America will see them. It's shaped by the government. It's an attack on LGBTQ+ people, especially kids. A lot of them are, you've probably heard, speaking out against drag queens and children's exposure to drag queens through the rise of things like Drag Queen Story Hour or family-friendly drag events in which children are able to attend for basically like games and books and learning about loving each other and accepting oneself. Santos has made it clear by vocally supporting the Florida mayor in a Facebook video. He agrees drag queens must be child abusers. Except there's one problem. Santos grew up in Brazil, and last week a Brazilian drag artist named Eula Rochard posted an image of herself on Facebook along with somebody who looks remarkably similar to George Santos in drag, that she claims, quote, "me with the American Republican congressman who wouldn't leave my house." In Portuguese, it said, "Whoever said I was a liar, bite your tongue." So there isn't any way to definitively prove that this is Santos in the photo, although the face shape is very similar. Eula Rochard identifies this drag queen as George Santos, who was performing at the time under the name Kitara Ravache. We got some evidence to support the fact that this is most likely Santos. This journalist told NBC News that he's the person on camera in a video now available on YouTube interviewing that same drag queen from Rochard's photo, wearing the same outfit and looking like a 20-year-old George Santos with a wig. Let's check out that video.
Em Jacarepaguá, faço em Cascadura, né, Egito, já fiz na Cabaré Casa Nova, em Santos, na Glória, né, E já fiz uma na boy.
Okay, I don't know what was just being said, but I do know that if this is in fact George Santos, he should be proud of himself for pulling off such a convincing transformation. If I didn't know this was actually a 20-year-old drag queen and I just saw them walking down the street, I would totally believe that she was actually closer to 40 years old. It's a stunning illusion, and all it took was that dry, crispy, alleged wig, an alleged pair of early 2000s sunglasses, and voila, we created the Kitara Ravache, which I guess is a good name for a queen who looks kind of like a busy mom at their child's soccer game who just combined some white wine with recalled diet pills. That's not a bad improvement for someone who otherwise looks like Stingy, the plastic-faced puppet character from Lazy Town, a TV show for preschoolers. Sorry, alleged puppet. Some people believe that Stingy is actually a real living creature who hides under your bed and is the reason I still have night terrors. And now he's been elected to Congress. Why would you do this, voters of Nassau County, Long Island? The moonshine at all those Great Gatsby parties must have up your whole family tree. You got soft frontal lobes, soft lobes in the brain. As this journalist from NBC points out, this drag queen background is seemingly the least offensive of all of the lies that have been revealed in the weeks leading up to it. And yet, this is the one that's making all of the headlines, due in part to pop culture's obsession with drag right now, but also because of the right-wing conspiracy theories that are made up to demonize queer people, saying that all of a sudden the centuries-old art of drag or cross-dressing or female illusion or whatever name it's been called in the past is suddenly a way that we're grooming children to become victims of an offense. It's the same harmful kind of rhetoric that demonizes trans people for wanting to use the appropriate bathroom for their gender identity, meaning there is zero evidence to support the idea that this is an issue or ever has been. It's just fear-mongering so that hateful people can justify their hateful hate. And out of all of these offensive lies that have been told in order to get elected, this is the only thing George Santos has made a statement responding to. He didn't respond to anything about lying on his resume, lying about his mother and grandparents. He responded to this, being a drag queen.
Saying, quote, the most recent obsession from the media claiming that I am a drag queen or performed as a drag queen is categorically false. The media continues to make outrageous claims about my life when I am working to deliver results. Please,
Governor Santos. Actually, can I call you Hunty? Thank you. Please, Governor Hunty. We all know that's most likely you on the tape looking like a post-roller coaster drag artist. So you just drop the act and spell working with a W-E-R-Q, as is in our culture. It makes sense Santos would so vehemently deny this lie, quote unquote, about his life as an aspiring drag queen, which if we're to believe the former friend who leaked this photo, who is, by the way, the iconic moment of my life, Traja Rochard, describes herself as the RuPaul of Brazil. She said she knew Santos back when he lived in Brazil and he was coming up as a drag artist, and described him as having an outgrown sense of grandeur. She said he was a dreamer and always a liar. They asked why she leaked the photo of them together, and she said, because I wanted to, which we stan. We all wanted you to too, and I'm going to send you a tip on Venmo. The journalist who was conducting that camera interview says that this person, allegedly George Santos, was around that day acting desperate, basically, to get the media's attention, which, if we believe these accounts from two people who are pretty confident that they are correct in these assertions, it paints George Santos as a name-dropping, fame-hungry sort of person, which didn't fit in great with the fact that apparently Miss Kitara was not a super entertaining drag queen. It said that she just didn't have what it took, which is hard to believe. I mean, let's go check out George Santos in this interview during his campaign for New York Congress. This is just one example of him being anti-gay as a gay person, which I still struggle with, but I guess I just don't have the greedy gene. I'm a giving, selfless, gay I need to stop calling myself that in this video. It's not coming off, it doesn't sound as cute in my head as I thought.
They're teaching in school kids, you know, that you don't need a mommy and a daddy. You can have two mommies, you can have two daddies. I think that's a little much for kids.
What's a little much for kids? The truth? So you want the schools to just teach that all same-sex couples are actually best friends who happen to share a bed, like they do with Abraham Lincoln and his obvious boyfriend? Okay, are we clear on that, children of America? In this country, gay couples don't exist, even though you can see them holding hands at the mall. Meanwhile, Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and our singular Christian God do exist, even though nobody's ever seen them or ever will. Also, if anyone in this classroom has two mommies or two daddies, no you don't. And you have to start calling one of your mommy's daddy or one of your daddy's mommy. And if you tell your classmates anything different, both of them will be killed, okay? That's the future Republicans want. I'm not joking. Santos just told us, like, you better gaslight, gatekeep, and girl boss those gay parents, Governor Hunty. Then, once it's illegal to talk about LGBTQ plus couples, they can make it illegal to be in an LGBTQ plus couple. And then the year after that, LGBTQ plus individuals will be on the menu. Good work, George Santos. Now by 2025, you can probably have all of the queer people on Long Island, including yourself, rounded up and ferried off to one of those floating landfills you're so proud of over there. That way, all of the queer community can just go out to the ocean and live like feral gay raccoons, so that the straights can pretend we never existed. George, Hunty, do you see how hypocritical those comments are coming from a man who is gay married to a man? If you think it's too much for kids to learn that same-sex couples exist, how do you explain your husband to like your 7-year-old niece and nephew? No, Madison, your Uncle Larry and I aren't married. We're just two roommates who fuck each other in the ass. Now, can you continue showing me how TikTok works so I can use it to promote racism? But let's not get bogged down in the cognitive dissonance that must be required in order to be an openly gay Republican. There's already plenty of mental gymnastics for George Santos to do right here on the surface level of his gay existence. I believe the Republican Party is using his conservative beliefs and his gay identity in order to create a divisive culture war that distracts voters from actually passing any important laws, like how to stop school shootings from happening every day.
One parent can't parent two kids as well as two parents, and there's always that feminine touch to boys from the mother and that masculine touch to boys from the father. Same thing goes for the daughters, and it creates equilibrium and balance.
Yes.
Scales are tipped and there's nobody left there, and you have just one-sided, you start creating troubled individuals. Troubled individuals are easier to manipulate.
It's true. Disturbed people are easy to manipulate. Like, there could be an aspiring drag queen who can't win pageants because their personality sucks, and they have no individual sense of self, which allows them to be easily indoctrinated into a political party that votes regularly against their own interests, all for that false sense of fame and power they've been craving for decades, thanks to the public support of a political party that is really just using them as the tall, shiny-faced, soft-shoeing gay token that helps bigoted cishet Americans justify their bigotry. These are violently prejudicial beliefs, and it's particularly irresponsible because of how vulnerable trans people are to attacks from the straight community. Trans women of color are disproportionately victims of murder and assault at a much higher rate than any other socioeconomic group. Also, trans people of all ages have higher rates of suicide. Can you imagine why? They're being used as political weapons. Their lives, their existence, the validation, and their ability to access basic human rights that were promised to us in the Constitution, such as equal health care. Also, how is it that you say two parents are better than one parent in the same exact sentence where you essentially said that no parents are better than two gay parents? Oh, that's right. The mom and dad provide an equilibrium and balance. Makes sense, because the human psyche is also a segue. It's very scientific, but I can tell both George Santos and John Stubbins get it. I mean, look at how they're mirroring each other's hand gestures. John is like, yep, the balanced breakfast, the salt and pepper, the penis in the vagina. It's very black and white, like the yin-yang bumper sticker that my estranged lesbian daughter had on her Subaru. But then it's even more messed up to go on and imply that there's some ideal balance that people should have of traditionally masculine traits and traits that are traditionally feminine.
Feminine touch.
In addition to this ludicrous idea that same-sex couples raise disturbed individuals, and that's why Democrats are promoting marriage equality, is because those disturbed individuals will what? Vote more for Democrat? Like, mama, it's called the land of the free. It's not manipulation. It's just trying to do what that stupid old piece of paper says. Sidebar, I haven't always been a fan of cooking until I got connected with the longtime sponsor of this channel and today's video, Every Plate. If you've been watching my channel for a while, then you very well know that Every Plate has really changed my relationship with cooking meals and feeding myself. And it can do the same for you. It's the best value meal kit in America. I've subscribed to services like this in the past that were so crazy expensive, the bank froze my account and they were like, we think you're getting scammed. But then after getting Every Plate and seeing that they give just as fresh ingredients for a better value, I thought, you know what, maybe I was getting scammed, but not anymore. Plus, it's the new year, so I wanted to start off cooking for myself more and of course, saving money. Every Plate delivers affordable meals directly to your door and helps you expand upon your cooking skills. I didn't know how to make French toast before today. I will say that. I don't know why. I can't think of a single meal Every Plate has delivered that hasn't been delicious, and I really loved this breakfast for dinner moment with apple and peanut butter stuffed French toast. Oh, delectable. It's gonna be a great year thanks to Every Plate, especially with rising grocery store prices. I can easily appreciate the fact that cooking with Every Plate is 25% cheaper than if I were to grocery shop for all of those ingredients. And even then, I live quite alone, so I would be letting most of those ingredients go bad anyway, which is not good for the planet or my wallet. I can use that extra money towards my other New Year's resolution, which is to drink a frozen coffee every time I feel like it. Plus, if you've got health goals on your brain, then you'll love Every Plate's newest meal preference, Nutrish and Delish, featuring recipes around 650 calories that are satisfying, fresh, and help keep you on track for your healthy eating goals. My real issue in life in the past has been ordering too much takeout. I'm just hopeless. I don't like grocery shopping. I don't like cooking. I need Every Plate to live. And again, 58% cheaper than your average fast casual meal. And I know exactly what I'm putting into my food. And Every Plate's always adding new recipes and ways to make life easier. You can add on cheesecakes or salads or garlic bread. Like, come on. They're really fun meals to cook either with a partner or you can just throw on a podcast like I do. And it's a great way to kind of take your mind off of life. And right now, Every Plate is offering the best deal I've seen from them. Get started with Every Plate for just $1.39 per meal by going to everyplate.com and entering code DiRamio139. That's everyplate.com, code DiRamio139. Thank you so much to Every Plate for being such an amazing supporter of this channel and of my nutrition goals. We stand. An equally as awful issue that other Republican governments across the country are trying to promote is the quote unquote don't say gay laws that are really Florida's parental rights and education law. That's a law that limits classroom instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity. It's already a pretty tragic fact that there is no queer history taught in schools for people of any age, but to make it so that teachers can get fired for even acknowledging or answering questions about same-sex marriage, gender identity, it's very dangerous because oftentimes a child who's questioning their sexuality or gender identity might only have trusted adults at school who they would be able to talk to about it. Or this might be their only source of education that normalizes what they're experiencing. And if we pretend like it doesn't exist, as we've done for many decades in the past, you will raise children who are traumatized by their experience as a closeted queer person in an oppressive cis-het society. Like, that's the thing that I realized in therapy as an adult was so difficult a lot of the times as a child. The reason for my anxiety or depression was because I felt different from other people and I didn't know it was okay. And I think many queer people identify with that. Fostering at a government level any sort of go back in the closet language is just like mentally unwell. Speaking of mentally unwell, we can count on you, George Santos, for your support in Florida.
Let's talk real quick about the Florida bill, Don't Say Gay. That's what the left-leaning Democrats and progressives are labeling it. I stand proudly behind not teaching our children sex or sexual orientation. That's incumbent on the parents, not educators. DeSantis, you have my full-blown support, and I support your decision to protect our children's innocence.
I'm George Santos, and I approve this message, just like I wish my dad would approve of my lifestyle choices. But he doesn't, and so I don't approve of them either, and that's why your stupid kids are gonna hate themselves also, okay, Florida? Republicans must really think that this country is made up of idiots. But it must just be your party, Republicans. I'm not gonna believe that Santos will make public school curriculum that is completely free of all talk of sexual orientation and gender identity. It's just gonna default to cisgender and heterosexual storylines, like the ones that are featured in almost all literature that students will be exposed to, even children's books. So you're really talking about just teaching the identities that you feel are anointed with frankincense and myrrh by the Bible. Do you think that those three wise men weren't all fucking in the barn that night? They were. It's not about making it just up to parents to teach their kids about sex and sexuality. It's about them only being exposed to romantic love between cisgender men and women. Like, how come the Lady and the Tramp can literally make out with pasta in their mouths, but it's too sexual somehow to just explain that some people have two moms or two dads? There's nothing innately sexual about being queer. It's, yes, a sexual identity in terms of like who you love, but more than that, it's a whole culture. It's a whole community that has been oppressed, and because of that has their own history and their own identity as Americans. And just like other oppressed minority groups, children deserve to be educated on this so that they can align themselves healthfully. But as George Santos has been quoted as saying, quote, "As a lifelong Republican, I've never experienced discrimination in the Republican Party." I don't think George Santos is so stupid that he doesn't know that that's a fucking lie, because what he just described was the systemic cishet oppression that even made it necessary for him to come out of a closet in the first place. If he was never discriminated against or never felt discriminated against as a gay person due to largely conservative actions of the Republican Party, he would never even know that it was different or against the norm to be attracted to the same sex. It is that discrimination that makes it so that everyone is assumed straight until otherwise limp-wristed. He knows it's a lie. And if there's one thing George Santos knows, it's lies. That's how he even got elected, to flip this seat in the House of Representatives. It's so transparent that he instantly responded in a tweet to the accusations of being a drag queen and hasn't responded to one single accusation about the other discrepancies from his past that were discovered in the time since he was elected and the time when he was sworn in. He said nothing, and although some Republicans and many Democrats called for his resignation before the swearing in, he didn't. He didn't have to. Congress is the only body that can expel a member of Congress. So, you know, Republicans who have the majority are never going to vote to expel George Santos and then put that seat back up for a re-election, a special election, because guess what? They're worried that the Democrats will win the seat back if that happens. Here are some examples of George Santos's lies from the campaign trail, ordered in escalating severity, ending with comedic effect.
Among the many issues, a stay at the W Hotel in Miami, which his campaign claims cost $199.99 a night.
Even the lowest cost stay there is well over $600 or $700.
He also claims to be a successful businessman owning 17 properties. He does not own any property. He is actually living with his sister.
More lies are being dispelled, including his claim that he attended the elite private school Horace Mann in the Bronx. There are no records of him ever attending.
Santos also claimed to have graduated from Baruch, but now he says he never graduated from any college.
He had claimed that his grandparents were Jewish and who fled to Brazil from persecution also during World War II.
Santos said his mother escaped the South Tower on 9/11.
A disabled Navy veteran accused Santos of walking away with $3,000 in GoFundMe cash, raised to pay for life-saving surgery for his service dog, Sapphire.
A lot of people overstate in their resume.
First of all, the part about stealing medical funds from the dying service service animal of a veteran shouldn't be on your resume in the first place. Where were you applying, to be a draping assistant for Cruella de Vil? Because spoiler alert, she's also a drag queen, and she's gonna recognize you from when she judged that 2008 lip sync battle at a gay bar called Ramrod. Also, sure, some people, maybe many people, embellish on their resumes, but by using phrases like spearheaded company-wide innovation instead of admitting that you changed out the air freshener in the company bathrooms every few weeks because everyone else was too lazy. They're not all changing their customer service position into a college degree. He said that when he read the New York Post's article about him calling his customer service position an odd job, he decided that he had to lie about having a college degree in order to be taken seriously. And it's like, you know how else you can be taken seriously? By not lying. You know, like, how is anyone gonna trust this person representing their state in Congress, whether they're Republican or Democratic? Like, they voted for him largely because of these stories he told. Having a connection to survivors of the Holocaust, a mother who survived 9/11, why even say that stuff other than to win the sympathy or win a feeling of allyship or relating to your constituents? He tries to excuse it as embellishing, is just so laughable. It's not embellishing, it's fabrication. Any other job, if you lied like this on your resume or about your past, you would be fired and blacklisted. But for the Republicans, we've already swore him in. Well, who cares? Who cares? Well, you know who cares? A lot of people in the media. But that's just another thing George Santos was the victim of.
Have you met with the constituents here yet?
Yes, I have. Plenty. The one thing I'll say is the media, and we've received plenty of complaints about you guys.
To be fair, it sounds like they've also been receiving a lot of complaints about you. And the only difference is you're the one who actually works for the citizens of this country. It's so unbelievable that there's seemingly nothing that this guy could say to make Republican Congress expel him. That just shows you have no morals and you have no confidence in your ability to win a special election, especially after a scandal like this. I mean, it doesn't make the Democratic Party look good either. How did Zimmerman not find out any of this in the sort of opposition research that one would do? Their excuse is that it's because these are all private things that they didn't check. They checked all the public information, not where he went to school, not whether his mother was in the Twin Towers during 9/11, which she wasn't. She was in Brazil. Also, his grandparents were in America during World War II. He's not even Jewish. He's Brazilian and not Jewish at all. This really angers the Jewish community, rightfully so. He even said in an interview, I always joke that I'm Jew-ish. And it's like, but you're not. You're making me squeam-ish. The Republicans will let him get away with saying anything. And for some reason, he's using that as a chance to say even more ridiculously unintelligent things. But on the plus side, that may have given us an exit strategy that just sort of fell into our laps the other day when he finally landed back in Long Island from DC for the swearing in.
Freshman Congressman George Santos, reporters caught up with him outside his DC office this morning and asked him about growing calls for him to step down.
If 142 people ask for me to resign, I'll resign.
Now, it's likely Santos misspoke and meant 142,000 people. That's how many votes were cast for him in the election.
Well, that's not what he said. He said 142 votes. And then the elevator door closed, thus sealing the verbal agreement, according to the laws of winning a chocolate factory from Willy Wonka. So if there happened to be 142 citizens of Long Island watching, can you all comment the word resign? I'll print out the list and make sure George gets it when I see him at the white party flag dancing with a Confederate banner. Or I'll go to Musical Mondays at Rage and roll it up and deliver it through the glory hole he's hiding behind. Not me being homophobic. I'm gay, though. I'm gay. I'm gay and angry. Suffice to say, George Santos is not a trustworthy politician. Not that other Republicans are any better. Next up, let's meet Kari Lake. She's running for governor of Arizona as a Republican, and she has openly attacked drag queens as being dangerous to children and wanting to ban any funds from going to drag events being held at schools. Kari tweeted, "They kicked God out of school and welcomed the drag queens. They took down our flag and replaced it with the rainbow. They seek to disarm Americans and militarize our enemies. Gay people are the enemy now. Let's bring back the basic gods, guns, and glory." How are you gonna say let's bring back guns when there was just an open shooting in California today? The guns are here. They never left. Luckily, the drag queens keep leaking the truth. We have legendary legendary Barbara Seville, who is a drag character portrayed by Rick Stevens of Arizona, who has known Kari Lake since the 1990s and has posted photos saying, "Oh, Kari used to come to my drag shows all the time. She used to get turned away from parties for being too intoxicated. I've performed in drag at her house where her children were." After that tweet, Barbara tried to reach out via social media and she was blocked. This is someone who's now attacking the queer community when she maintained a friendship with an openly gay man for decades. Rick Stevens assumed because of that she was on the liberal end of things until he saw her on TV running as a GOP candidate. So why does Kari, who clearly had an authentic love of drag and drag performers and queer culture before entering the political ecosystem, why is she now so sure that children are being harmed by drag shows when she herself exposed her children to drag shows? She was not prepared to have this discussion, despite it being the main focus and the main attack of her campaign, or at least she was caught off guard when the allies, Fox News, asked her about it.
Every candidate takes tough stories. I'm asking you to respond to it if you'd like to.
I'm happy to address it, but I'm really disappointed in Fox. I thought you were a little better than CNN. This is a person who I covered for decades, and he's never been in my home. He says he's been in my home for a drag show. That's ludicrous. He's never been in my home. He's lied. We tried to serve him defamation papers, and he's so shady that we can't even track him down.
Don't say that you're against participating in queer culture when you're sitting there in full Joan Collins drag with Vaseline on the lens, calling another drag queen shady. It's not doing you any favors, Miss Kari Lake, which, by the way, is exactly the name a drag queen would have. So what is the truth, mama? With your pixie cut, with your Mia Farrow pixie cut. The filters that they're using on these teleconferencing cameras are really hitting. She looks glamorous and evil. It must just be greed. Literally, it has to be for power and money. And she's willing to sell out people that she used to be friends with, as well as all the queer people that she ever has seen or enjoyed watching. It's like, you can't just come into gay bars to watch the drag shows and then vote against us. It's very Meghan McCain. I hate it. I hate it. It's giving very much cheesy sellout, very much American greed, short haircut, Olay Regenerist face cream. Later, Kari released a statement, still so mad that she would be asked a question about this by Fox News when it's a pretty convincing account from someone who used to know her saying that she's acted in ways that conflict with this #1 issue she's been touting about drag queens being dangerous to children. So her statement said, "The event in question was a party at someone else's house and the performer was there as a Marilyn Monroe impersonator. It wasn't a drag show." Oh, so a performer with the stage name legendary Barbara Seville was only there to portray Marilyn Monroe as a purely educational, scientific model. Is that what you're saying? Sweetheart, Kari, baby, hunty. I love calling these Republicans hunty because I feel like they wouldn't love it. But I have freedom of, yes, I love it. If this performer had a padded bra and a penis taped between her legs and was lip syncing to Happy Birthday, Mr. President, that was a drag show, okay? You weren't making a biography on Marilyn Monroe. Don't try to twist it so that a female impersonator is somehow different than a drag show. You won't make that distinction no matter how much you turn your back on your gay friends so that the rich oil lobbyists will pad your pockets, okay, Mia? Of course, it's not just now in today's climate that drag has been something that Republican politicians participate in, okay? So it's not like I'm saying these are people who are running for current office and are contradicting themselves. I'm just showing you that Republicans didn't think drag was an issue before. Also, no one ever talks about drag being bad for children when it's, you know, Martin Lawrence as Big Mama or Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire, Medea, Tyler Perry. Like, none of those are ever cited as problematic when children are exposed to them all the time. I mean, Mrs. Doubtfire is a movie that kids all watch. Like, that's not confusing them or grooming them anyway. Now we're gonna take it back to 2017 when the mayor of Kennesaw, Georgia, named Derek Easterling, faced backlash for dressing in drag at a charity event because many of the people in his constituency claimed that it was beneath his office. I'm not here to say one way or the other. I think the art of drag is beautiful, no matter how bunk you look doing it, you hypocritical bastard.
He says the deadly disease took the life of someone he loved and impacts millions of people all over the world, which is why he decided to take part in the event, Battle of the Brain.
I was personally involved because I know my grandmother She died from Alzheimer's.
Mayor Derek Easterling says he decided to dress up as Christina Aguilera and perform Lady Marmalade at a lip-sync charity event to raise money for Alzheimer's research.
That was my performance, over the top. Get people's attention and say, hey, look, if I can do this, you can too.
Actually, no, I can't. And not just because I have bone spurs that cause me to pass out when I wear high heels. At least 6 states are considering bills that would ban minors from attending drag performances. They are basically seeking to classify any drag performance as a cabaret or a sexually oriented business. There's a bill in Tennessee that would ban drag queens from performing on private or public property in the presence of a minor. And if they enact this and there's a repeat offense, a person could be labeled a sex offender for their drag and face a felony charge with up to 6 years in prison. This is straight up back to the 1940s through the 1960s, pre-Stonewall, when you could just be thrown in jail for wearing less than 3 pieces of clothing that match with your assigned gender. To which I say, fine, I'm probably gonna look cool in fashion when I wear my silk red slip dress along with the dress socks and necktie that I wore to my Nana's funeral. And Nana would love it too, because I took that dress out of her closet post-mortem. It's, to me, tone deaf at best and ignorant at worst for Derek Easterling to be so casual about his drag performance when now, just 5 years later, they're using drag performances as a way to say that anyone who does them is some sort of predator. Meanwhile, throughout that year, there were other people in the state who were gender nonconforming as permanent members of society who faced life or death consequences for that identity. T.T. Dangerfield, 32, was shot multiple times. Scout Schultz, 21, shot by Georgia Tech campus police. Ava LeRae Barron was 17, murdered in Athens, Georgia. So don't say, if I can do it, anyone can do it, because the people who actually do it, meaning transition from anything other than cisgender, they have to be afraid for their life at almost all times in your state. But you get to go out and sing Lady Marmalade by Christina Aguilera in the memory of your grandma's Alzheimer's. Well, good. Good for her. Good for you. I'm glad your dead grandma has brain health now. Speaking of dead grandmas, I want you to take a look at our good friend Rudy Giuliani. This is the one we were all waiting for. You know, I think this is actually a good look for a mayor to wear. He's really embodying all the glamour of a classic Hollywood film. This one in particular.
I've written a letter to Daddy. His address is heaven above.
Okay, well, add a PS to that letter and let your daddy know I'll meet him up there, because these Republicans are fucking killing me today. And you know, weirdo Rudy here doesn't get up to any of his weird shit without his other half of the singular racist brain cell that he shares with his good friend Donald. This is an infamous little skit from the Mayor's Inner Circle press roast in 2000. Whenever politicians are trying to deliberately be funny, you just gotta get on a space shuttle and go to the moon, because you don't want any part of it.
You know, you're really beautiful. And a woman that looks like that has to have her own special scent.
Maybe you could tell me what you think of this scent.
Smells like the air inside of a tire and liver-spotted skin with notes of gangrene. That poor Macy's sales associate in the background is like, I just wanted seasonal employment. I didn't know I would be supervising the world's ugliest foreplay between Donald Trump and the corpse of Julia Child, it kind of looks and sounds like. Throughout his time as mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani had dressed in drag several times to get laughs, even though it more is giving me like nervous laughter and please keep him on the stage and don't let him come out into the aisles. And while he has that old trick, Donald has this old grabber of an idea. Like, nobody looks good in this. Why would you ever display this for anyone ever, as a politician or otherwise?
I like that.
This may be the best of all. Oh, you dirty boy, you. Oh, Donald, I thought you were a gentleman.
You can't say I didn't try.
To overthrow democracy? Yeah, we know you did try, didn't you? But if your defense is just to motorboat your lawyer's fake boobs in the cosmetics and fragrance department, then there should definitely be some jail time ahead, especially with your accusations of sexual assault that you still somehow got elected through Republicans and Democrats. I mean, we gotta get our messaging straight or something. This is a mess. Putting your face in a lawyer's boobs, that should be a crime. At the very least, it's plagiarizing a 1999 sex comedy starring Sean William Scott. This should all make it very clear, fellow queers and allies, that in order to keep America divided and prevent anything good from happening, like anything important from getting done, the Republicans are just stirring up fake issues that threaten our rights as Americans and minorities. And I'm not just talking about queer people, I'm obviously also talking about the rights of reproductive people or people of color, indigenous communities, and how we treat and repair our relationship with them going forward because of the terrible history and bloody past that this country was built upon. But yeah, no, we're just, you know, little pawns. And these Republican politicians like to get rich. They don't mind threatening our basic rights as citizens and humans while taking the moral high ground, even though they don't actually believe in what they're saying, according to this. But who cares? I guess they don't have to follow the same rules as us, right? They have straight cisgender privilege. That's what makes it okay for straight male politicians and actors to perform sexually explicit forms of drag that are literally depicting sexual harassment. And that's less harmful than a drag queen wearing a rainbow wig, reading stories and passing out Lisa Frank stickers at the library. Okay, that all makes perfect logical sense for Republicans. Like Rudy Giuliani here, although he also seems to think that women talk like Mr. Bill. What are your thoughts on drag queens, the stigmatization, demonization of them and trans people and the whole queer community by this batch of Republicans trying to get rich off of our suffering? Let me know in the comments below. Also, give this video a big thumbs up if you want to see even more drag or conservative cringe content like this, as I said. But most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones every week, so turn on notifications and you'll always be the first to know when I've written a letter to Daddy. Also, I've got merch and a Patreon where we are having virtual watch parties. There's one this weekend. We're watching Valentine, a horror movie about Valentine's Day. Check it out if you want to. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you so much for getting into full drag as a conservative snob with me today. I will see you next time.